Edward, are you at all nervous that your new student will surpass you as teen? Mostly, it seemed, for the sake of ribbing her son. I don't think anyone needs to be too concerned about that, I said. Well, I think it'd strike a tremendous blow for education, said Ed proudly. Do you think you could give Ed a 9 to 5 job? Rob asked to me. Ed laughed. Yes, maybe I could give memory training courses to your employees. You could be, you could do programming off your team. I don't know how to program. Your father could teach you. Rob made a small fortune in the 1990s designing computer software and retained at an early age to life of leisure and eccentric pursuits. He is a participating apparatus and gardener and would like to take the mill farm off the electrical grid by exercising his ancient water rights and installing a hydroelectric generator in the creek that runs by the house. Teen teaches developmentally disabled kids at a local school and is an avid reader and tennis player. She's mostly tolerant of Ed's eccentricities, but also cautiously hopeful that Ed might someday direct his considerable talents in a more focused and perhaps even socially useful direction. What about the law, Edward? She asked. I consider the law to be a zero-sum game, and therefore a pointless use of life, said Ed. Being good at being a lawyer means merely on average maximum justice. Ed leaned over to me. I used to be quite a promising young man when I was 18. This promoted Phoebe to chime in. More like 13. While Ed was in the bathroom, I asked Rob if he would be disappointed if his son ended up becoming the next Tony Buzan, a fantastically wealthy self-help guru. Rob pondered the question for a few seconds and stroked his chin. I think I'd prefer him to become a barrister. The next morning, at the examination hall of Oxford University, which was hosting the world's finest monomist, Ed was sprawled out across a leather sofa wearing his bright yellow cap and a t-shirt with the words Ed kicks ass 220 emblazoned in bold letters across his chest. Above, a menacing iron-on photograph of himself, a cartoon of a karate kick, and a photograph of thonged female hindquarters. In addition to communicating an intimidating bit of trash talk to his opponents, he explained these 3 words, Ed kicks ass, are a mnemonic that helps him remember the number 220. He was smoking a cigarette. He doesn't take the physical training part of the sport too seriously, and warmly greeted each of the competitors. As they strolled through the door, he informed me that since we last seen each other, he'd taken an indefinite leave of absence for his PhD program in Paris to pursue other projects. He also told me that his and Lucas' big plan for Oxford Mine Academy had been temporarily derailed when, not long after the U.S. Championship, Lucas badly seared his lungs in a fire-breathing stunt gone wrong. Memory championships can be pathologically competitive events, and Ed described his vanity t-shirt as part of the campaign of pretend intimidation, with the aim of generally upping the quality of banter between competitors, especially with the Germans. To that end, he had showed up at the championship bearing cold copies of cheeky one-page stat sheets that he was handing out to the press and fellow competitors. It described his character in the third person. Irreverent, flamboyant, ready for anything, especially yesterday, and his training regimen, early rise, yoga, skipping, superfoods including blueberries and cod liver oil, 4-hour training, 2 glasses of wine per day, from the potassium-rich soil of the Languedoc-Roussillon in southern France, 30-minute reflection period at sunset each evening, keeping a journal online. It noted that his unique ability included lucid dreaming and tantric sex. It also described Tony Buzan as a champion ballroom dancer and a mentor for me throughout puberty, and his thoughts on future competitive memory, hoping it will be an Olympic sport before 2020, when he is planning to retire to life of synesthesia and sanity. His plan for after the championship, revolutionizing Western education. Sitting on the couch next to him was the legendary word memory champion Ben Pridmore, a man who until that moment I had known only through Google and myth. I had heard he could memorize playing cards as fast as he could turn them over. Ben wore a worn-out old one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, Dr. Seuss t-shirt with a badly stretched collar and a fanny pack. He was also sporting an enormous wide-brimmed black Australian steer-hide Undertaker's hat he had professed to have worn every day for the last 6 years. It's my gimmick. He said softly, it's part of my soul. At his feet there sat a pink and black backpack with the words "Pump It Up" graffitied on the back. He had informed us that there was 22 decks of playing cards inside, which he intended to memorize the next day in a single hour. With his bald head, dark beard, face swallowing glasses, and wide stretching eyes, Ben seemed almost like a figure out of an R. Crumb cartoon. He even had the same shrugged shoulders and loopy strut. The sole of his tattered leather shoes slapped under his feet like flip-flops. He spoke with a gentle, slightly nasal Yorkshire accent, which turned my into me. "I hate my voice," he said, when explaining why he'd been so cagey about returning my phone calls during the previous week. One of the first pieces of information about himself they shared with me was that he believed he was England's youngest college dropout. "I was admitted to Kingston and Dames University when I was 17, but I dropped out after 6 months. Now I'm 28, which is a bit depressing. I'm starting to feel like an old man of memory sports. I was one of the hot newcomers once. Bad luck doesn't seem to stalk Ben. He'd had no intentions of being at the World Memory Championship. Instead, he had devoted the last 6 months to memorizing the first 50,000 digits of the mathematical constant pi, which he planned to recite at the Mind Sports Olympiad, a week-long festival of board games to be held a week after the World Memory Championship. It would have been a world record, but an obscure Japanese mnemonics named Akira Haraguchi had emerged from nowhere to memorize 83,431 digits just a month earlier. It took him 16 hours and 28 minutes to recite them. Ben read about the accomplishments on the internet and was forced to revolt his plans. Instead of trying to learn another 33,432 digits, he gave up and dedicated himself to defending his title as World Memory Champion. He had spent virtually every free moment of the last 6 weeks cleaning out memory palaces that had been devoted to Pi, undoing months of hard work so that he could reuse the palace in the memory championships. Most of the mental athletes on the memory circuit came to the sport the same way I did. They once saw someone perform an outrageous memory stunt, thought it was cool, and learned the trick behind it, and then went home and tried it themselves. But Ben missed out on this one critical step. He'd seen someone memorize playing cards and thought it was cool, and went home, tried it himself, but nobody ever told him how it was done without using any technique at all. He just stared at the card over and over again till they became imprinted on his brain. And the amazing thing is that he kept doing this in his spare time for several months under the assumption that eventually he'd surely get good at it. He finally got his time down in 50 minutes using pure route memorization, a feat in many ways more impressive than his world record time of 32 seconds using techniques. It wasn't until he showed up at his first World Memory Championship in 2000 that he found out about memory palaces. After the first day of the event wrapped up, he finished near last place. He went to a bookstore, bought one of Tony Boozen's books, decided that this was something he had a talent for, and forgot about all of his other extracurricular interests, including his lifelong quest to watch every one of the 1001 theatrically released Warner Brothers cartoons made between 1930 to 1968. Ben had been working on a book called How to Be Clever, which teaches readers how to calculate the day of the week for any date in history, how to memorize decks of cards, and how to scam an IQ test. The book is about making people think you're brainy without actually increasing your intelligence. He told me the problem is I haven't written very much because I have more important things to do, like watch cartoons. I've tried to write a serious book on how to improve your life. I've been rubbish at it because I haven't got the faintest idea of how to improve my life.